Hey, good morning, everybody. Matt Zerby here from Wasco Nursery, and today's weather is a far cry from yesterday. So yesterday morning, it started snowing, and by the end of the night, we had almost 6 inches of snow here at the garden center. And I would say 80% of that is already gone this morning. I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera around, and you can see here almost everything is gone. There's a little bit remaining here and there. But I wanted to answer some questions about what the cold and the snow is going to do to plant material. So I'm standing here next to a plant called a Marica weeping katsura tree. And I'm not sure, we'll kind of zoom in here. Okay, these leaves right here were the newest leaves. They were the ones that had opened up most recently. And this is a leaf that had opened up maybe a week ago or whatever. This leaf was hardened off. It's a little more mature. The cell structure was a little bit better. On those brand new leaves, though, you can see they've already started to kind of turn a blackish or dark greenish color. Again, trying to zoom in there and show you as best I can. Those leaves are going to fall off. So all of these leaves here and there, all of that's going to fall off. But the more mature leaves are going to be fine. And when the newest leaves that got damaged by the cold weather last night, not so much by the snow, but by the 27 or 28 degrees that it got last night, those will fall off. But not to worry, there's a secondary bud behind this leaf. So this leaf came from what's called a primary bud. That was a bud that was set last fall, and right behind that is a secondary bud. This leaf's going to fall off. A secondary bud is going to replace it, and everything is going to be hunky-dory. This tree will be just fine. Now, some of our hardier native species, like this one right here, this is what's called a prairie rose crabapple, also known as a Iowa crabapple or a prairie crabapple, but this is actually a native plant. Those leaves are perky, they are happy. There is, I see little to no cold damage whatsoever on that plant, and we're in good shape. So, just kind of turn the camera around and talk to you face to face here. So what can you do? Nitrogen is the element in a typical fertilizer that will help produce top growth, leaf growth, stem growth, that type of thing. So if you've got a plant that maybe lost its foliage, it already started to leaf out and it lost its leaves, I would put down something that's a little higher in nitrogen, and specifically something that's a little faster acting. And the reason I say faster acting is that if you've ever shopped here or you've ever asked me, I'm a big proponent of the organic fertilizers. We sell the Espoma line, like Hollytone, Plant Tone, things like that. They're great maintenance fertilizers, they really are, but they're not very fast acting. So when you're trying to treat a specific issue, such as a recent cold snap that damaged the primary buds or foliage on a tree, and you want to get it to leaf out quickly again, both for aesthetic reasons as well as just plant health, put something down that's going to be a little faster acting. So you could actually use a liquid fertilizer like Jack's Classic, which is a 20-20-20 water soluble. That actually works great. I would apply it the next, maybe sometime this week, and then apply it again about 10 or 14 days later. You could also use, we have a 10-10 garden food. It's just a 10-10-10. That's not a slow release. It's just a traditional fertilizer. What you're going to want to avoid are going to be the slow release fertilizers, things like Osmocote, those types of fertilizers. They're great fertilizers normally, but they're not going to treat something very quickly. So if you've got perennial plants that appear mushy, that's going to be the tell as to whether the plant made it through this cold snap or not. So if you have hostas that are emerging out of the ground and their stems or the foliage still feels firm and normal, you're probably in good shape. If it starts feeling kind of mushy, you're going to want to just cut that off or give it a couple of days, see what happens with it, and then cut it off. And again, throw some of that fertilizer down. That'll help push out some new growth. Most established plants, if they were healthy prior to last week, I would say 90, maybe 95% of plant material is going to be just fine. Some things you might have a little more of an issue with. Not everything is going to bounce back as quickly. But as I walk around the garden center here and look at the plant material that we have, we had perennials that we had left out because we just ran out of greenhouse space. We brought in what I knew to be tender and left out what I knew or what I had hoped, I should say, would hold up. And I'm pleased to say that All the plant materials looking really good. We are open for business. It's actually a great day to buy trees. We've got staff here. The trees are all out and looking great. Our native serviceberry are looking amazing. They look like they came through the cold snap just fine, and their blooms are still holding on. Magnolias have a little bit of cold damage on them on the flowers, but the foliage looks great and the trees are in good shape. So I hope that answers some of your questions. As always, if you have any questions about plant health, plant care, anything like that, feel free to give me a shout or stop in the garden center. We're here 7 days a week. Thanks for watching.